right, welcome to an episode of Crestview Leads, where I, Tim Bolduc, get an opportunity to sit down with people who've had influence in my life in the area of leadership. And we talk about all sorts of topics about leadership, development, just a little bit of everything that we do in life. And so this morning I have with me one of my favorite, I guess I would say colleagues, somebody I have worked with for a couple of different years, or for a few years, Mr. Jason Autry. So Jason, welcome.
Tim, glad to be here.
It's exciting to have you here this morning.
It is. And I appreciate you saying a favorite colleague, because I would agree, in our line of work, there are certain people that you enjoy working with and those that you dread to have to make the phone call with, right? And you're one of those that, listen, we can have differing opinions.
For sure.
But we're going to work together, collaborate, and cooperate and get to the end. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I tell everybody all the time that you're probably my favorite county employee, to be honest with you, just because we have been able to, for that exact reason, right? So we don't always agree about everything for sure, but we can always get through it. And I think what happens, this is not even on the agenda for today, but I think what happens with us is, because we've worked together for so long and we've built a level of trust, that if we have to say, one has to say no to the other one about a request, you can trust that it's not just because.
Yeah, I think that's really important in any relationship that you have, whether it's personal or professional, is that there's got to be that level of, I'm not just saying it because there's a reason behind it. And a lot of times I think what we miss out on is that if we do disagree, and this is more of a societal statement than anything else, but we disagree and we just think that they're wrong.
Right.
And heaven forbid they're just a differing opinion. And I think what I like to do is embrace the difference.
Right.
And because there are difference of way you want to go about doing things, or way you want to go about attacking a project, you get to better solutions if you just take the time and ask. And at the end of the day, our goal is the same, right? We want the best community possible. I'm in government services not because the paycheck is wonderful or all that, but it's because I like doing good for the community. And if that's our goal, we'll get there.
Absolutely. What's so cool about that is that whole little statement is not the same that Jason Autry would have given me 15 years ago.
You're right.
We're gonna get to
right.
that. We're gonna get to how you got to this growth and all that. But before we do that, man, I want you to take just a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself. So I mentioned that you're the Public Works Director. Maybe I did. Public Works Director for Okaloosa County.
Public Works Director for Okaloosa County. Been there over 20 years now. I've been the director for almost 10 years.
I'm trying to figure out how you've been there for 20 years and you don't have gray hair.
Well, I have power alleys, so it's this that happens up here, right?
Okay.
There's a hereditary component that I don't think I'll ever go gray, so it's pretty good. I started out 20 years ago in 2004. I did land development review. I really cut my teeth in engineering to go back even further. I'm a University of Florida graduate. I have a degree in civil engineering. I started in land development, doing subdivision design down in Gainesville, which is where I'm originally from. Did that for a few years, then got married, moved up here to Destin. My first wife is originally from the Destin area, so we moved
I actually
back to
went to school with Monica.
With Monica, great person, by the way. I wish her the best at all times. We have a daughter together who recently graduated from West Florida as well, which is exciting.
It's exciting. Just like Jayla.
That's right. She's not a pilot, but
she's not a pilot.
We tease her. She's basically a doctor because she's taken some medical classes, but she wants to get there.
I got you.
But started working in the private sector in 2000. In 2004, just before the economy really turned, I got an opportunity to come and work with the county doing development review, which is what I enjoyed.
Right.
I liked seeing a lot of different subdivisions and the way engineers would approach things. Was the development review engineer for about 4 or 5 years, and then there was a retirement that had happened, or somebody had left the county, and they got a new public works director, and I became the county engineer, and I was the county engineer for about 5 years, and then
was that when John came?
That's when John came over. That's right. And John Hofstede became the county administrator, I moved into the public works director role, and so we've been in those positions for a little over 10 years now, which is pretty remarkable. I think about half of my career has been as the director of the department, which, to your point, 5 years in, I didn't see that happening. That's how I got here.
Very cool. So also, you got a little bit of a side gig. So
I do.
Tell us a little bit about that. You're an SEC ref.
Yeah, it's one of the more interesting dichotomies in life that I could come across.
Right.
Although there's some pretty strong similarities. So I do on the weekends, I work as a referee in the Southeastern Conference for football. So this Saturday, I don't know when this thing will air, but this Saturday I'll be headed off to an SEC school in our conference, working a football game. I'll be headed up to Tennessee. That's right. I can let that out if it's because the school knows now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. But every weekend I travel out. So the next 14 Saturdays, I probably won't be home because I'll be off somewhere at football. it's a real blessing to have that as a second job, and it is a job. It's not a hobby. I'll be very clear with that. It is a job that I get critiqued for, both publicly and through my supervisors. I take it very seriously. It's something that I spend an inordinate amount of time at home working on. But yeah, it's a real blessing that through years and years of work at it, I got there. This is my 21st year officiating.
That's awesome.
Which is crazy.
I will say this, having you as a friend and being an SEC ref is unfortunate for me because I always really enjoyed being able to call referees a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, my brother-in-laws and I, we're all Alabama fans, and so we'll watch the football game, and you'll be calling the game, and something will happen in the game, and of course we don't agree with it. And so they're like, this guy's such an idiot. Yeah. And I'm like, well, actually, he's got his engineering degree from the University of Florida.
Details. So here's a parallel that I don't think a lot of people think about with football officiating and working in government.
Okay.
All right. And
I can't wait for this.
In our roles,
it's got to be the Facebook.
In our roles, I have no Facebook. Thank you.
Right.
But in our roles, we have to make decisions, usually pretty quickly.
Right.
And you're more than likely going to irritate one side or the other.
That's a fact.
So when you have a flag that is on the ground for a hold, I don't care if it is there and it's legit and it is as true as the day is long. No coach is going to come to me, man, I'm really glad you called me.
I appreciate that holding call.
Right? If you issue a code violation or you deny a permit for something that's not right, I have never had an engineer or a builder come to me, man, I'm really glad you gave me that notice of violation. So at the end of the day, we have to make decisions that we know are not going to please somebody.
Right.
But why do you make the decision? Because it's just the right thing to do, or it's what you saw, it's what you believe, it's what you had. And so I take a great level of comfort. I know for a fact that when a flag hits the ground, somebody's not going to like it. I know that's the case. I'm going to trust that, hey, I've got a lot of time on this field. I've got a lot of expertise in this area, this line of work.
Right.
I'm putting it down because it's what I believe in, it's what I saw. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll own it. But I will tell you that more often than not, because of experience and because of the training that we've had, we're generally going the right direction.
Typically, it's
That's
right.
That's
so let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but so we both get chewed out by the public all the time, but I want to know who's the best coach on a butt chewing?
Boy, they all have different styles. The thing I like about coaches, and this is where I gain respect for coaches, it's never personal. Right. So Coach Saban, he's retired now, so I could certainly say this about him. He would get upset about a call, but it was never that I was an idiot. Right. He didn't like the call, and there is a distinct difference. It's never personal. And coaches understand that. In fact, I will tell coaches all the time if they cross that line, Coach, listen, you have every right to be upset about a call, and you can disagree with me all day that you want, but you're not going to make this personal.
Right.
I'm not going to call you a name. You're not going to call me a name. And so the coaches, they respect that. They appreciate that. And so do the players, right?
Right.
Certainly they have a bias.
Right.
They're built in. They want to win. They keep score to win. I get that. But as long as it doesn't get personal, which it rarely does, I don't have an issue with it. You can see the coaches' reactions on the sidelines. I'll tell you some of the best ones are the little subtle comments that they give us that, that are just between us. And so I'll keep that as my little secret.
For sure.
But as long as it's not personal, they can chew all day.
Yeah. Does anybody give you like prescription eyeglasses? And
no, they don't. They don't go that far.
Because I would do that.
Yeah. There's a couple
right before you threw me out.
Think about their situation though. They're in a highly focused, intense situation where they've got to come up with the next play because the game progresses quickly.
So they don't have time.
They don't have time to do that. Yeah. That's right. They don't have time. Now, pregame meetings or halftime or timeouts, every now and then you get a moment of levity. Some coaches have, just like anybody else, different senses of humor and different ways that they react to things. Yeah. But no, when we're in a game, I'm doing a job, they're doing a job.
Yeah, very, very cool. So love that. Love those comparisons for sure. One of the things I wanted to talk about when I asked you to come in here was you and I've had a couple conversations over the years. We've kind of grown up in this industry together to some extent.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if you do, but I remember our first interaction was when I was in Laurel Hill. We had an interaction about a subdivision up there. And I remember walking away from that going, I don't know about that guy.
Yeah.
Just different mannerisms. The way you carried yourself was completely different than it is today. I can assure you the way I carried myself was definitely completely different that day. But then to hear you give that opening, for this particular podcast is very cool for me because I feel like because we've grown up in the business together, I've been able to watch you develop as a professional. I think it's one of the reasons why I have the level of respect that I have for you is that I've watched as smart as because you're incredibly smart, but as smart as you are, you've been able to learn and adapt and learn how to deal with people. One of my favorite things you told me a while back was that one of the best things that happened for you at the county was getting looked over for a promotion. Sure. And so this is a leadership podcast. I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to dig into what do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, to go back, I appreciate that. It means a lot to hear that because I am not the same person that I was. Think of evolution of life.
Right.
The kid I was in high school, I wasn't the same kid in college. I certainly wasn't the same guy that when I graduated. I certainly wasn't the same man when I had a child. I certainly wasn't the same person after I had gone through a marriage.
Wait till you have a grandkid.
Yeah, not there.
I love it.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, and I look forward to those moments, but I grew. Yeah. And I'd like to believe that I've been giving other chances. I make mistakes along the way. I think when you're young, you're invincible. You feel like I'm never wrong. And as you get older, you realize, boy, how wrong I really was. Yeah. But owning that, accepting it, and growing from that makes it really important.
One of the things, and we're going to get to what I said, but one of the things that I've watched develop in you, which I really like, it's why I've brought you out to some of our leadership stuff to teach, is because I've watched you go from the first time I met you, in your mind being the smartest person in the room, to now that when I see you, you make sure that you let others speak first, that you're whether you still may be the smartest person in the room. I don't know. You did go to Florida, but whether you may be the smartest person in the room, that is not the persona you walk in with. Right. And so even when I call you and want you to do something that I need done for the city, you always make sure that you, instead of just saying, yes, I'll do that, this is the answer, you make sure that you point me back, or you go back and you grab up your engineers that are on your team that have already made that decision, and then you walk them back through that, to get to wherever, because, of course I'm always right when I call, not really, but but a lot of times you and I will get to a similar place, right? But you never go, I'll get you there. You always go, let me check with my team. Sure. Let me see what's going on. What do you think caused that? We'll get back to the thing about not getting picked.
There's expressions in life, right? Some of the things that I have heard that I like cliches. Yeah, I like sayings because they kind of help encapsulate what is going on. One of the ones that I love is if you're thinking of what you're going to say, you're not listening. For sure. And one of the problems I had when I was, coming up through this, and as an engineer that was always doing good in school, always writing, always knew things, I thought I had the answer. Right. And what it took was a little while to realize that sometimes you got to hear what others have to say because they can have some really good input. I had another instance one time when I was doing land development review, and there was an interim growth management director, Donna. She said to me at a I can't remember what they could tech review committee meeting, right? So whenever the committee was presenting, they were horrible.
They were horrible.
Them.
Government and government.
Yeah, it was the exercise in futility. But whenever something would come up, I had answers to questions, and I knew the answers, and I'd give them right away. Yeah. And one time she pulled me aside after me, and she says, "Hey, listen, you're clearly very good at what you do." And I said, "Thank you, I appreciate that." She goes, "But sometimes the best thing to do is tell somebody, let me think about it. Even if you know the answer, just take a second to pause and go, let me have 24 hours to think about that." And what's interesting is that when she said that, I said, okay, I appreciate that. And I took it to heart, and I've tried that. And I have found, as I think more and more about this, when an instance hits me, I have an immediate reaction. Yep. But when I sit back and sleep on it, so to speak, or think about it, it's amazing to me how much better my response is 24 hours later. Yeah. It's not that it's different, but the delivery is way better.
And a lot of times, so there is a difference between having a right answer and the best answer.
Correct.
For Absolutely. Sure. Because a lot of times in our business in particular, the answer that we initially jump to could be a right answer or the right answer. But a lot of times it's not the best answer.
That's correct. And that's where delivery can come into play.
For sure.
So I think I've learned a lot about that. And then the other side of it is because I've progressed through my technical abilities. I joke about this all the time. I was a really, really good technical engineer. And so they moved me into management of people.
Right.
Because
we talk about that.
They're
how bad that is.
Yeah, it's just a terrible move.
Yeah.
But what it forced me to do was trying to figure out what makes people tick.
Right.
And how is it that you build relationships? There's another, we both went to the CPM course.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, but in level 3, when Sean Baldwin was our instructor at OW, I distinctly remember sitting there at the table. Northwest Florida State College.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while. Was it OW then?
No.
Okay, it was State College. So anyhow, she made the comment. She said, it's all about relationships.
Right.
And she couldn't have been more true. And that's true in business. It's true in personal. It's true in everything that you do. And so I really have taken to heart the people side of it as opposed to the technical side. Well, because of that, I've recognized my technical skills are largely eroded. Yeah. I'm not near the engineer I was 15 years ago because I don't practice. It's an atrophied muscle. There's no other way to put it.
No question.
And so what I've learned is that, you can ask me, and I probably do have a pretty good answer I could make up on the fly.
Yeah. You got a theory answer,
But I'm a lot better off by going to asking people that do this every day, and they can come back with the details.
Take the time to get their thought process behind how they got there.
And then the second part of that is, if I don't have a snap reaction, the other person feels like they're being heard.
Listened to.
They feel like they're being listened to. And I don't care who you are. You can never tell somebody how they feel is wrong.
Right.
And if you feel valued, you feel listened to.
There's some value in that. That'll be on our clip. You can never tell somebody how they feel is wrong.
That one goes to Dad. The guy that skipped more days than he attended in high school, and then he has a JUCO education.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're good. Has a JUCO. He said, you can never tell somebody how they feel is wrong, which is true. Right. How they feel is very real to them.
Yeah, because it's theirs.
Their feeling.
They own those. Yeah, that is really, really, really good. Yeah. We call you said let me sleep on it. Around here we call it. I'm going to marinate on that for a little while. I got that from Crestview.
Let me let it soak.
Yeah, let me marinate on that one for a little while and see if it soaks in. But that's so good. So, but at the beginning of this though, I said one of the things that you told me one day we were talking. I think we were talking about the advancement of someone else in one of our organizations. I don't even remember. It's not important. But one of the things you said to me was the very best thing that ever happened to you was getting looked over, or one of the best things that happened to you was getting looked over for a position. Yeah. Tease that out a little bit. Talk about what do you mean by that?
Well, so let's go back through history of growing up. So in high school, I'll be honest, I was not a great student. And what I mean by that is I didn't study, but I got really good grades.
Right.
It just came very natural to me. It was kind of easy for me. I get into community college. I went to Santa Fe down in Gainesville, and it was a little bit harder. I studied a little bit, but it wasn't all too difficult. It still came to me pretty naturally. I got into UF, and a little reality set in, and I had to work a little bit harder, but I still did well. I did fine. Right. I get my first job, and it goes kind of easy. Everything for me historically had gone, quote unquote, as planned. I never was told, nah, you're not good enough. Yeah. May have been cut from a sports team every now and then, but it wasn't anything that was a hard rejection. And so everything came, I think, a little too easy for me. And so by not getting a position, it forced me to sort of self-reflect. And it forced me to think about, okay, I didn't get this, why? And what I learned out of this was quit blaming or making an excuse of what the other person is or isn't.
Right.
Figure out what makes it work for you.
Right.
I'll also tell you that I'm a firm believer in I guess fate's the right way to use for it. There's a path. This adventure that we're all on called life, it has different meanings into it. My daughter, who is now 22 years old, graduated from college with a degree, smart as a whip, is going to become a doctor. I was told when her mother was 18 weeks pregnant, it's a girl, she's not going to live. She's been through 7 surgeries. She's had heart surgery. She had every reason to have all the excuses to say, I can't because of. And instead, I did in spite of.
Right.
And that it's such a powerful feeling that, we all have excuses.
Right.
We all have reasons we can or can't do something. Well, I didn't get this promotion, so I'm going to sit there and wallow in it. No, I'm going to take that as a moment to reflect on how can I be a better me.
Yeah.
And so, and then the other side of it is those jobs I didn't get. If you look at them, sometimes I'm really grateful I didn't get them. Right. So quit sulking over what didn't happen. Don't cry over the spilt milk. Another cliche. Yeah. Let's just take what we've got and run with it and make what we've got better. So not getting jobs, it sucks in the moment.
Right.
But I think when you step back, let it marinate.
Yep.
It's not as bad as it's not catastrophic. It's not the end of the world.
For sure. Yeah. One of the things I like about that, because I've been able to watch your career from the outside, is that I think that what happens, or what did happen there, is that whatever didn't position you to get that advancement at that time, then you go back and reflect on it, and you begin to work on that piece of who you are and your overall professional development. Now makes you successful where you were. In government, a lot of times we don't do that. If you are the best engineer, then you're going to be promoted because you're the best engineer. And so getting that little check sometimes helps us out. I got shortlisted for a job down in Tampa right before I came up here. Right before I ended up in Crestview, because I was ready to leave where I was at, and so I had got shortlisted for a big job down there. Got through a couple of the phones type stuff and was really had this expectation that I was going to go do that, and then doesn't happen, and so I was super disappointed, frustrated. I'm like, they must be a bunch of idiots down there. They don't know what they're missing out on.
They're missing out on me.
But honestly, missing that opportunity then prepared me for the way that I was going to approach this particular role, which I believe, just like you do, I believe that, the Bible says our steps are ordered of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. I believe that our path through life is, to some extent set. But in order for us to reach our full potential, it takes that process, and we have to submit ourselves to that process, right? The learning piece of it. I believe this particular opportunity for me could potentially end up being the highlight of my career because of the ability to just have an impact and get to do cool, even what we're doing today. Right. It opens the opportunity for me to do this with somebody I respect. We get a chance to share, like, how do you get there, that kind of stuff. I wouldn't have had that otherwise. And so sometimes those setbacks, not sometimes, most of the time, those setbacks, if we take them in the right attitude and the right approach, end up positioning us better the next go around.
I'd argue every time, and I can put it in my other life, in officiating football, I didn't just start in the Southeastern Conference.
Right.
I worked middle school games locally, then I did some high school games, then I got into Division II, and then I got into the group of five is what they call it now, and then I got into the SEC. And I will tell you, I was ready to advance to the next level before I ever got promoted.
Right.
And what it showed me when I got hired into the SEC, I thought I should have been hired a year or two before, perhaps.
Right.
And I felt like another guy went before me, and how dare he? What the heck? And it made me kind of think. But it allowed me to go back and hone my craft, get better at what I was doing, and when I was moved into that position, I was better prepared than I would have been the year or two prior to that.
Got you prepared for that Auburn call?
Yeah, every one of them. Which Auburn call?
The spike the ball.
Yeah,
call. That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
So poor Jason. I called Jason.
The moments that we wish we could have back.
I called Jason on Thanksgiving Day, didn't I? It was me and my brother-in-laws, and I called you up, and I was like, "What is the rule here, man? What is the deal?" It couldn't have been Thanksgiving. Well, yeah. I don't know if you were working on Thanksgiving or not.
No, well, I haven't been home for Thanksgiving in over a decade.
No, you were in a hotel somewhere,
yeah.
and it was me and my brother-in-laws, and we called you because we were like, "What are you guys looking at in that camera? How come you can't see what we're seeing?" So, but anyways,
is that when I told you how replay works?
That's
okay.
Yeah. For the rest of the world,
that's right.
All Jason's doing is watching the replay. He doesn't get to make the call.
Yeah, I have three jobs: tell them what we saw, shut up, and then tell them what they told me. So
that's it. You're just watching it like the rest of us.
I'm a mere
in this
puppet.
Awkward moment, going, "Man, I hope they get this right."
I embody the expression, "Don't shoot the messenger."
Right. Yeah. He took my call on Thanksgiving Day to tell me that one day. So, very, very cool. So overall development, what do you think, if you could pick one thing that, because you've been here 20...
I've been in Okaloosa County since 2000. I've been with the county since 2004.
So
20 years.
20 years. Yeah. You've been in this role for 20 years. Yeah. At some point, we're going to move on to do something else. So as you look at your team and you start to try to get them prepared to be the next man or woman up, what are some of the things that you try to share with them?
So the other thing that I've grown in is reading. I read every day. I'll get to the office early and I pick up a book and I'll read for 15, 20 minutes, depends on what I'm on. And
what are you reading right now?
The book is called Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a deeper psychology book, one of the more difficult reads that I've had. But my daughter has a minor in psychology, and I'll be damned if she's going to psychoanalyze me one day. So I picked that up. But it's all about how we go about making decisions.
So good.
It's how do we make decisions as humans, and reacting with the system one, quick responses, or if we system two, deep think about it. It's pretty interesting. But one of the books I read recently is called From Strength to Strength. And it talks about when in any line of profession, when you're younger, you have a strength in your ability to do the stuff, the technical side of life.
Right.
But as you get older, at some point, you transition from the technical doer to the, I want to pass this on to somebody else. Well, I've made that transition in my life and my career to where I get better value personally out of helping that young engineer see how to do something new, how to see to run a project or to design something. I'm not doing the technical side of it, but I can help them kind of, form the mold on that. And so what I want to do is I want to leave Okaloosa County in under 10 years.
Right.
I want to retire after my 30 years. And I want it to be in a better place than when I got there.
For sure.
And I want the people to get in there. The same thing is true as a parent. I just told my daughter this Saturday. We went to a movie together. And I said, as a parent, my goal was to give you better opportunities than I had.
That's right.
And as a boss, supervisor,
and to better equip you for life.
I want to have my employees to have a better opportunity to make an impact than what I was able to do.
So
whether that's better resources or better thought processes or better just to set up overall, whatever the case may be. But I also want to give them the ability to do what they see as best. My way is not the way. It is a way.
Right.
And
I just reread Jim Collins' Good to Great.
Okay.
And the reason I was reading it is because I'm at that time in a city manager's tenure where it's time for them to run me off or regenerate, right? And so career managers do that. They come in, they do a whole bunch of great stuff, and then they go at 5.
Right.
With me, I'm not interested in going,
right.
not because of any other reason than I don't think I'm done here. And so what I wanted to do was figure out how do I regenerate the energy that we started with, and that's why I went back to the books that got us here.
Yeah.
And so, but a part of that, he talks about level 5 leadership, and one of the things that he talks about is that organizations that are great for a period of time sometimes are there because the leader drags them.
That's right.
But real leaders set them up. There goes the train. That's awesome.
It.
Real leaders set them up, set their team up so that when they're gone, they maintain anyway. Right. And so that's the deal. Hey, listen, man, we're just about out of time,
sure.
Which I knew wouldn't be a problem for us. But before I let you get out of here, I want to ask you the question that I ask everybody else. And this is the one that it's funny. Some people can answer it really quickly. Some people can't. But the question is this. As you look back over your career, as you look back over your life, and you think about the different leaders who have had influence in your life, I want you to pick out one of them that stands out to you, and then what is it about them that makes you want to emulate what they do?
That's a tough question because I don't think that there is a single person that I really lean on 100%. This is sort of like parenting. Like there are things that my dad did that I'm like, there's no way I'm going to do that to my kids.
Right.
There's things that my dad did. I'm like, man, I hope I can be that man.
Right.
Same with my mom. There's things my mom does that are just like, Mom, come on. And there's things that mom does like, man, that is awesome. And so you pick and choose from if you're parents on how you act as a parent and how they impart upon you. And hopefully it makes you better at that job. Same is true with my past bosses. So, when I came on board with the county, let me go back. When I moved up here, there was the office manager's name was Mark Schaefer. And Mark really taught me to help understand compassion. And the big thing that I took from him was when my daughter was born, she had severe health issues and spent several weeks in the hospital in Atlanta. And I was, for 2 weeks, I would work 4 days, drive to Atlanta, go see her in the hospital, drive back and work 4 days. And I did that to keep insurance, quite frankly. It was a pretty fundamental reason. And one day I got there and he walked into my office and said, hey, I want you to know I have talked with other employees in the company. We are giving you our sick leave. We don't want you to come back to work until you bring your daughter home.
Oh, wow.
And that was really impactful to me because what it showed was that this is bigger than a job.
Yeah.
If you don't care about the person, because I was running myself into the ground. I mean, when I was at work, do you think I really cared about the stormwater pond knowing my daughter was on a ventilator?
Right.
No. And so I learned that from Mark. I appreciated the human side of that. Danielle Slater-Price was the public works director when I started with Okaloosa County. And you know Danielle.
Yeah.
Danielle taught me the value of, because she was a woman in a male-dominated profession, and her understanding of I have to do it better just to be viewed the same, I had a greater appreciation for that. So I really appreciate those that overcome in spite of, which is very similar to what my daughter is.
Sure.
I view my daughter as a leader, which is really weird.
No.
When I look at the way she approaches life, knowing the obstacle she has and it's never used as an excuse, it makes me want to be a better dad.
Yeah.
It makes me want to be a better man.
Very
so, it's a conglomerate of people that I'm really grateful for having in my life. And I hope that one day somebody says that about me. I don't want to be the one, but I want to be somebody that's a positive
on a
influence.
list. You want to make
a list. I want to be on the list. That's
Man, I appreciate you coming in this morning, especially on such short notice.
Easy 30 minutes.
Have fun over there in Tennessee this weekend. Make good decisions. Make good calls. Hopefully you got some good games this year to take you all over the world. But for those of you who listen to us, we appreciate it. Like it, share it. If you like it, share it. And you can find us on all the different podcast platforms. And this is why Crestview leads.